The distress beacon hit every relay station between Mars and the Belt simultaneously. Commander Jake Morrison barely had time to strap into his repair shuttle before Fleet Command rerouted him mid-flight. Morrison, you're closest to the coordinates. Unknown vessel, dead in space, life support failing. Get there now. He punched the thrusters hard. 3 hours of burn time. The shuttle rattled as he pushed it past safe limits. But that's what separating a living crew from vacuum demanded. His toolkit mag-locked behind him. 20 years fixing everything from mining rigs to warships meant he could repair anything with a pulse. The vessel appeared on his sensors like nothing he'd ever seen, organic curves instead of hard angles. Bioluminescent strips pulsing weakly along the hull. It was dying, whatever it was. Command, I'm looking at something that didn't come from our shipyards. We know. Proceed with caution. First contact protocols are in effect. First contact. The words hit him like a plasma charge. Humanity had been searching for a century. Now he was about to board an alien ship alone. The airlock accepted his docking clamp after 3 attempts. His suit registered atmosphere on the other side, breathable but thin. Emergency lights flickered in languages he couldn't read, symbols that seemed to shift and writhe. He cycled through and stepped into a corridor that looked grown rather than built. The walls had a texture like mother of pearl. Everything hummed with a frequency he felt in his bones. A sound reached him, not mechanical, breathing, labored and desperate. This is a desert of business, an opera source of business and nests. He moved toward it, tools ready, though he had no idea what he'd find. The corridor opened into what had to be the bridge. And there, collapsed against a throne-like seat that seemed to pulse with the same rhythm as the ship, was her. She stood 7 feet tall, even hunched over. 4 arms, 2 clutching her torso where black fluid leaked through her fingers. Her skin shimmered with colors that had no names in any human language. But her eyes, when they locked onto him, held the same desperate hope he'd seen in 1,000 emergencies. She spoke. The ship translated, her voice filling the air around him like music and thunder combined. You came. I broadcast into the void, and you came. Jake raised his hand slowly. I'm here to help. I'm an engineer. I can fix your ship. My ship is dying because I am dying. We are one. She coughed, more of that black fluid spattering the deck. But perhaps you can save my people. The stasis pods in the lower decks. 300 souls sleeping. If the ship dies, they die with it. The entire vessel shuddered. Somewhere deep in its structure, something critical gave way. How long do we have? Jake asked. Minutes. Perhaps less. He grabbed his toolkit and ran. Jake sprinted through corridors that contracted like dying lungs. The ship was organic, truly alive, and every shudder told him it was bleeding out. His helmet display mapped the layout as he ran, but the readings made no sense. Power conduits that looked like veins, a reactor that pulsed like a heart. He found the stasis chamber 3 levels down. The room stretched the length of a football field, filled with translucent pods arranged in perfect rows. Inside each one, a figure slept. Same species as the queen above, but smaller. Some had different colorations, patterns on their skin like living art. The pods were losing power. He could see it in the dimming light around each sleeper, in the frost forming on the transparent surfaces. Command, I need emergency power solutions for organic technology. Send me everything we have on bioelectric systems. Morrison, extraction shuttles are 20 minutes out. Evacuate now. Negative. 300 lives in stasis. I'm not leaving them. He slammed his toolkit open and pulled out his scanner. The pods were connected to the ship's main systems through a network that resembled a nervous system more than wiring. If he could isolate them, give them independent power, they might survive even after the ship died. His hands moved on instinct. He rewired fusion cores under enemy fire, patched hull breaches while the vacuum pulled at him. This was just another impossible job. The Queen's voice echoed through the chamber, weaker now. The central nexus. Behind the pods. You must sever the connection gently or the feedback will kill them all. You found it. A mass of pulsing organic cables converging into a node that looked like a massive ganglion. His cutting torch would fry it instantly. Too crude. He needed precision. Jake pulled out his medical kit instead. Scalpels designed for emergency surgery in zero gravity. He started cutting, peeling back layers of the ship's living tissue, exposing the individual connections to each pod. The ship screamed. He felt it through the deck, through the walls, a sound of agony that made his teeth ache. "I'm sorry," he whispered. "I'm so sorry." He worked faster. Each connection had to be isolated, rerouted to the backup generators he was cannibalizing from his own shuttle's power core. Humanity's technology meeting something entirely alien, forced to work together through his bloody improvised surgery. 15 minutes gone. The Queen had stopped responding. Jake tied the last connection into place and slapped his shuttle's entire power supply into the jury rig system. The stasis pods flared bright, independent, stable. The ship gave one final shudder and went dark. Emergency lighting kicked in from his equipment. The chamber was silent except for his ragged breathing and the soft hum of the pods. Still active, still keeping their precious cargo alive. He ran back to the bridge. The Queen lay motionless, her forearms spread across the deck, that black fluid pooled beneath her. The throne seat had turned gray and lifeless, but her eyes tracked him as he approached. "You saved them." Her voice came directly into his mind now, the ship too dead to translate. "No one has ever shown my people such kindness. Don't talk. Help is coming. I am beyond help, but you must understand what you have done." She reached out with one trembling hand. "Those sleepers are not refugees. They are an invasion force, sent to claim your world." Jake froze. "I was their queen. I led them across the stars to conquer humanity. But during the journey, I learned. I watched your transmissions, studied your culture. I saw something we had never known." Her eyes dimmed. "Mercy. Compassion for strangers. So I sabotaged my own ship. I chose to die rather than let them wake and destroy you." "Then why did you ask me to save them?" "Because you needed to make the choice yourself. And you chose mercy over fear. That is why humanity will survive what is coming." Her hand fell to the deck. "Tell them. Tell my people what you did. Show them there is another way." The Queen died with something that might have been a smile. Jake stood alone on a dead ship, surrounded by the consequences of his compassion, and wondered if he'd just saved humanity or doomed it. The extraction team found Jake sitting on the bridge beside the Queen's body. Lieutenant Carla Hughes led the squad, her weapon trained on the massive alien corpse until she confirmed it was dead. "Morrison, what the hell happened here?" He looked up at her with eyes that had seen too much in too short a time. "I saved 300 enemy soldiers because I didn't know any better. It took 6 hours to transfer the stasis pods onto the cargo hauler Valkyrie. Command wanted them spaced immediately." Jake threatened to resign, then mutiny, then physically fought his way into the communication room to speak directly to Admiral Foster. "Sir, you don't understand. The Queen died to stop this invasion. She chose us over her own people. That has to mean something. It means we have 300 alien warriors in our custody and no idea when they'll wake up." Foster's face on the screen was granite. "I have orders to eliminate the threat. Then you'll have to eliminate me too, because I'm not moving from this cargo bay." They stared at each other across the light delay. Finally, Foster broke. 72 hours, Morrison. You have 3 days to convince me these things aren't going to kill us all. After that, I'm making the call. Jake spent every minute of those 72 hours studying the Queen's ship. Her logs were intact, stored in the organic memory banks that hadn't died with her. The translation software the command sent was crude, but it worked. What he found changed everything. The Queen's species called themselves the Volanthi. They had conquered 47 worlds. Every species they encountered either submitted or was eliminated. No exceptions. No mercy. For 10,000 years, they had been the apex predators of their galaxy. Until the Queen, whose name translated roughly as "she who questions the path," started intercepting human radio transmissions. She had watched human television shows, listened to music, read literature that had been broadcast into space. She saw humans rescue each other in disasters, saw them weep for strangers, saw them sacrifice themselves for abstract concepts like justice and freedom. It fascinated her. Then it haunted her. Then it changed her. Her logs became a confession. She wrote about the species the Volanthi had destroyed and how none of them had ever tried to save their enemies. About how she realized her people were strong but empty. About how she made her choice on a random Tuesday while watching a documentary about human firefighters running into burning buildings. "I will die," she had written, "so that my people might learn what I have learned. I will strand them among humans and pray that mercy is contagious." Jake played the logs for Admiral Foster. Then for the Joint Chiefs. Then for every major government on Earth. The debate raged for 2 days. Half wanted the Volanthi destroyed. Half wanted them imprisoned. A smaller faction, led by Dr. Nathan Cross, a xenobiologist who'd spent his career preparing for this moment, wanted something different. "We can show them," Cross argued. "The Queen believed in us. She bet her entire invasion force on human compassion. Are we really going to prove her wrong?" The vote was narrow. The Volanthi would live. But they would wake under guard, one at a time, in a facility built specifically to contain them. Jake insisted on being there for the first awakening. The Volanthi warrior's name was Kravith. He opened his eyes to find himself restrained in a medical bay, surrounded by creatures that barely reached his chest. His 4 arms strained against the bonds. His skin flashed warning colors. Then he saw the hologram. His queen's final message, recorded in those last moments before her death. "Barry, Barry," her voice filled the room. "My children, my warriors, I have failed you. I brought you to a world not to conquer, but to learn from. These humans saved your lives when they had every reason to end them. I died believing they would show you mercy. I died hoping you would let it change you as it changed me." Kravith went very still. "You stand at a crossroads. You can fight and die and prove that the Volanthi are incapable of growth. Or you can look at these small, fragile beings and see what I saw. The strongest thing in the universe is not the ability to destroy. It is the choice not to." The hologram faded. Kravith looked at Jake. "She is truly dead?" "Yes." "And you are the one who saved us?" "Yes." The warrior's skin shifted through colors Jake couldn't interpret. "Then I am your prisoner, human. Do with me what you will. But know that my queen was the greatest among us, and if she believed in you, then perhaps we have been wrong about everything." The awakening process took 3 months, 1 Volanthi every 3 days, each one brought into consciousness with the queen's message and the truth of their situation. Some raged. Some wept in ways that seemed impossible for warriors bred for conquest. Some simply stood silent, processing the reality that everything they had known was a lie. Jake was there for every single one. Dr. Cross designed the integration program. The Volanthi would live in a controlled habitat outside Denver, visible to the world through live feeds, their every move documented. Transparency was the only path forward. Humanity needed to see these former invaders learning to coexist, and the Volanthi needed to understand they were being given a chance that none of their victims had ever received. Kravith became their unofficial leader. He was a tactician, built for strategy and war, but the Queen's death had hollowed something out of him. He filled that emptiness with purpose. Every morning he studied human history. Every afternoon he taught his people what he learned. "Look at this," he told them one day, projecting images of World War II. They fought each other with weapons that could level cities, killed millions of their own species. Then decades later, those same enemies became allies. They rebuilt together. They chose peace over endless revenge. A younger Volanthi named Thessa challenged him. That proves they are weak. No true warrior forgives. "No," Kravith said quietly. "It proves they are stronger than us. They carry grudges that would justify eternal war, and they choose to set them down. We never had to make that choice. We simply crushed everything weaker than us and called it strength." Jake watched these conversations through the monitors. 6 months in, he started accepting requests from individual Volanthi who wanted to speak with him directly. They asked impossible questions. Why did you save us? Because you needed saving? But we came to destroy you. You were asleep. You didn't choose that. Your queen gave you a different choice. Tessa was the hardest convert. She had been the invasion force's weapons master, designed and trained to break defensive lines. She requested a meeting with Jake 8 months into the program. I need to understand something, human. If I had woken on schedule, I would have killed you without hesitation. Hundreds of you. Thousands if I could. Does that not make you hate me? Jake considered his words carefully. When I was 19, I almost died in a reactor accident on Titan. The guy who saved me had served time for manslaughter. Killed someone in a bar fight years before. Should I have let me die because of what he might have done in the future? Or what he did in the past? That is not the same. Isn't it? You're asking me to punish you for crimes you didn't commit? I fix things, Tessa. Ships, stations, people, when I can. I don't destroy them because they might break someday. She left without responding. But 3 days later, she requested assignment to the engineering corps. She wanted to learn to build instead of break. The real test came when the Volanthi Empire made contact. The transmission reached Earth on a Tuesday, a fleet of 60 warships at the edge of the solar system, demanding the return of their invasion force. The message was clear: surrender the warriors, or watch humanity burn. Admiral Foster called an emergency meeting. Jake was summoned along with Kraveth and the senior Volanthi. They will not negotiate, Kraveth said, studying the tactical data. The Empire does not bargain with prey. They will attack within 48 hours. Can we fight them? Foster asked. No. Humanity's weapons are impressive for your development level, but you are not ready for the Volanthi war machine. They have been perfecting warfare for 10,000 years. The room fell silent. Then Tessa spoke. Let us fight them. Everyone turned to stare. We know their tactics, their weaknesses, how they think. She looked at Kraveth, then at Jake. The Queen died believing we could be better. Let us prove it. Let us defend the world we were sent to conquer. Kraveth's skin flashed through a sequence of colors that crosses translation software marked as shock, then respect, then determination. She is right. We are Volanthia. We are warriors, but for the first time, we can choose what we fight for. Foster looked at Jake. This was your mess, Morrison. What do you think? Jake thought about a dying queen who had chosen hope over hatred. About 300 former enemies learning to build instead of destroy. About the choice between cynicism and faith. I think we give them weapons and pray the queen knew what she was doing. 41 hours later, the Volanthi defenders took up positions throughout Earth's orbital defense grid. They wore human military patches on armor that had been designed to conquer. They manned stations alongside human soldiers who had voted to execute them 6 months ago. And when the Empire's fleet arrived, they sent a message back. Kraveth's voice carried across the void. We are the Queen's chosen. We do not recognize your authority. We stand with humanity. If you want this world, you will have to go through us. The Empire's response was predictable. They attacked. The first wave hit Earth's orbital defenses like a hammer against glass. Volanthi plasma cannons tore through defensive satellites that humanity had spent decades building. They shredded them in seconds. But Kraveth had planned for this. Now, he commanded. The debris from the satellites wasn't debris at all. Each piece contained human-made explosives wrapped around Volanthi power cores that Thessa had repurposed. The Empire's ships flew straight into a minefield that looked like wreckage. 17 warships died in the first 30 seconds. The Empire adjusted. They always did. Their remaining 43 vessels spread into attack formations that had broken species across galaxies. But this time, they faced warriors who knew those formations intimately. Pattern crash incoming, Kraveth reported calmly. They will feint at the lunar installations and strike at the stations above North America. Thessa, collapse Grid 7. Make them think we are retreating. Collapsing now. The human commanders watched in awe as the Volanthi defenders moved with perfect precision. Every tactic the Empire deployed, Kraveth countered before it fully formed. Every weapon system they activated, Thessa had already prepared a response for. Jake was on the command station Armstrong, monitoring the battle through feeds that showed carnage in every direction. A Valanthi warrior named Prex fought beside him, manning weapon systems with 2 arms while coordinating defensive patterns with the other 2. "They are adapting faster than expected," Prex said. "The Empire learns quickly." "So do we," Jake replied, rerouting power to the damaged shield generators. Hold Section 4. I need 90 seconds. You will have them. An Empire torpedo breached their shields. Jake felt the station shudder as it impacted the outer hull. Atmosphere began venting from 3 compartments. He grabbed his repair kit and ran, Prex covering him as secondary explosions rocked the corridor. They reached the breach together. Jake slapped emergency sealant over the gaps while Prex used her own body to block the escaping air, her biology able to withstand vacuum longer than his suit could protect him. "Go," she commanded. "Finish the seal." He worked with hands that had patched 1,000 emergencies. The sealant held, the compartment pressurized. Prex collapsed, her skin turned dark from oxygen deprivation. Jake dragged her to the medical bay and shoved her into the emergency pod. "Stay alive. That is an order." Her eyes flickered. Humans do not command Valanthi. "This one does. Now breathe." The battle raged for 6 hours. Humanity lost 40% of its orbital infrastructure. 1,700 personnel died. The casualty numbers scrolled across every screen. Names that would be mourned. Families that would never be whole again. But the Empire lost worse. 31 warships destroyed. The remaining 12 fled to regroup, their formations broken, their commanders confronted with the impossible. Their own warriors fighting against them with human courage backing every move. The victory celebration was muted. Too many dead. Too much destroyed. But in the command center, Foster approached Kravith with something like respect. "You saved us." "No, Admiral. We saved ourselves. For the first time in Valanthi history, we fought for something beyond conquest. It felt..." He paused, searching for the word honorable. Cross was already analyzing the Empire's retreat vector. "They will return. Bigger fleet, better prepared." "Then we prepare too," Thessa said. She had taken shrapnel during the battle, black blood seeping through hastily applied bandages. But she stood straight. "The Empire's weakness is that they never face enemies who know their methods. We can teach humanity everything. Tactics, technology, strategy. Level the field." Jake saw the opportunity crystallizing. More than that, we can offer every species the Empire conquered the same choice the Queen gave you. Join us or stay enslaved. "How many worlds have the Valanthi crushed?" 47, Kravith said quietly. "Then we have 47 potential allies who have every reason to hate the Empire." Foster's eyes widened. "You are talking about starting an interstellar rebellion." "I am talking about finishing what the Queen started. She died believing compassion could change everything. Let's prove her right on a galactic scale." The transmission went out 3 days later, broadcast on every frequency the Valanthi knew, sent to every world that had bent knee to the Empire. The message was simple. Kravith stood before the cameras, his Queen's death wound still visible on his armor, kept unrepaired as a reminder. Behind him stood human soldiers and Valanthi warriors, side by side. "I am Kravith, war leader of the failed Earth invasion. My Queen died to save me from what I was. Humans had every reason to execute us. They chose mercy. They chose to show us another way. Now we offer you the same choice. Rise against the Empire. We will stand with you. We will teach you how to fight them. We will show you that the strongest thing in the universe is not the ability to destroy, but the courage to protect." He paused, letting the weight of the words settle. "The Empire will tell you we are traitors. They are correct. We have betrayed 10,000 years of slaughter. We will not go back. Join us, and neither will you." The response took 11 days to arrive. 7 worlds declared independence simultaneously. The Empire's foundation began to crack. The war lasted 3 years. Not the quick conquest the Empire expected, but a grinding struggle across 17 star systems. Every world that rose in rebellion learned from both human resilience and Volanthe expertise. Species that had been crushed for centuries remembered how to fight. The Empire's fleet shattered against alliances they never saw coming. Their tactics, perfected over millennia, failed against enemies who knew them intimately and refused to break. Jake spent those years doing what he did best. He fixed ships, repaired stations, rebuilt defensive grids for species whose names he could barely pronounce. Everywhere he went, the story followed him. The human engineer who saved an invasion force and accidentally started a revolution. Kraveth led the military campaigns with Thessa at his side. They fought like Volanthe, but for principles the Empire could never comprehend. Former slaves became their fiercest allies. The rebellion grew with every system liberated. The final battle happened above the Empire's throne world. 50 allied fleets against the Empire's last stand. The fighting was brutal, desperate, the kind of carnage that would scar the survivors forever. But the Empire fell. When the surrender came, it was Kraveth who accepted it. The Empire's high command knelt before a warrior they had sent to conquer primitives, now backed by the very humans they had deemed unworthy of existence. "You have lost," Kraveth told them. "Not because you were weak, but because you never understood what true strength looks like." Jake watched from Earth as the transmission played across every screen. The war was over. Humanity had gone from alone in the cosmos to the moral center of an interstellar alliance. All because he had chosen to save lives instead of asking questions first. Dr. Cross found him in the observation deck of the rebuilt station Armstrong, looking out at the stars that no longer seemed so empty. "The Council wants to make you an ambassador, official representative to the allied species." Jake laughed. "I am an engineer, Nathan. I fix things. You fixed more than you know." Cross handed him a datapad. "The Volanthe are proposing something. They want to build a monument on their homeworld. To the Queen who died to save them. She would have hated that. Monuments are for conquerors. Read the inscription they proposed." Jake looked at the translation. His throat tightened. "She who questioned the path. She who chose mercy over conquest. She who believed that the smallest act of compassion could change the universe. She was right." Kraveth appeared in the doorway, his skin displaying colors that Cross's software now identified as contentment. 3 years of fighting had aged him in ways that showed in scars and bearing, but his eyes held something new. Peace. "Will you come, Jake Morrison?" "When we unveil it, I am just the guy who happened to be closest to the coordinates." "No?" "You are the human who saw enemies dying and chose to save them anyway. You are the proof that my queen was not insane to hope." Kraveth's forearms spread in a gesture of respect. "You are the reason 300 warriors learned that there is honor in protection, not just destruction. Come, stand with us. Let the galaxy see what happens when someone chooses compassion over fear." Jake thought about a dying queen on a darkened bridge. About 300 sleepers who could have ended humanity. About the choice to save lives even when it made no strategic sense. "Yeah," he said quietly. "I will be there." The monument was unveiled 6 months later. Representatives from 47 liberated worlds attended. The Queen's form was carved in stone that shimmered with the same colors her skin had displayed in life. At the base, the inscription in 100 languages. Jake stood between Kraveth and Thessa as the covering fell away. Prex was there too, fully recovered, her own scars worn with pride. All around them, former enemies gathered to honor a queen who had chosen to fail so her people could learn to succeed differently. Admiral Foster leaned close to Jake. "You know what the analysts are saying? They think this changes everything." "Well, first contact protocols, how we approach the unknown. All of it based on what you did. I just followed my training. Save lives first, ask questions later. That is not protocol, Morrison. That is faith in the goodness of strangers. That is what she saw in us." Foster nodded toward the monument. "That is what she died believing we would choose." As the ceremony concluded, a young Volanthe approached Jake. Barely an adult, born during the 3 years of war. She had never known the Empire's absolute rule, only the alliance that rose from its ashes. "Is it true?" she asked. "You really did not know we were your enemies when you saved us?" "I knew you were dying." That was enough. She considered this with the seriousness of youth trying to understand a complicated universe. "Then maybe we were never really enemies. Maybe we just had not met the right human yet." Jake watched her walk away, back to a future that looked nothing like the past her species had built. He thought about random chance and distress beacons, about being in the right place at the right time with a toolkit and a stubborn refusal to let people die. The Queen had gambled everything on human compassion. Looking at the monument, at the gathered species, at the alliance born from one engineer's choice to fix instead of destroy, Jake figured she had bet wisely. Somewhere in the cosmos, he hoped she knew.